Hi everyone. Hi. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV. Today is an interesting episode of VCTV, and we all look interesting as well. We're going to discuss about opportunities in LATAM, which is the Latin America market, and we have Dr. Srikant and Gary Fowler to share their insights. So it's going to be interesting for me because this is something that I'm hosting for the very first time. I'm looking forward to hear about all the insights and the businesses that has been done in LATAM in last year. Um, so my name is Sunny Mohanty. I am the regional director of LATOKEN. I host VCTV Monday to Friday every day, 8 p.m. Singapore time. So yeah, that's me. Let's just go and jump into the introduction. Gary, welcome to VCTV. So yeah, well, introduction and background, please. Thank you.
Yeah. My name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 17 companies involved in 2 unicorns on the original management team at Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, which is one of the top 10 AI HR tech companies in the world. I founded it 4.5 years ago. I'm the co-founder, president, and CEO of Get Shit Done GSD Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio that has companies all over the world, including Latin America today. So we're very aggressive in Latin America and doing business. I write a lot. I've written 122 articles in the last year. Actually, I guess a little bit more because it keeps going up every week. And I wrote more than I did before. So, but write a lot. I've got several shows, etc. Very interested in quantum's effect on the planet and AI as the new electricity. So great to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary, and welcome back on the episode of VCTV because our viewers really want to know, especially in Asia, where we are, how to connect back with the LATAM market. So yeah, next I have Dr. Srikant. Hi, welcome back on VCTV.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here, Sunny. It is always a pleasure to be on VCTV. I am Dr. Srikant Pathasarthi. I'm a legal advisor and also a venture partner. I advise family offices, and we have investments all across the globe. And LATAM is a market which interests us of late very well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Gary and Srikant. We're expecting another speaker a little bit later in the show. So let's just start with what opportunities do we see in Latin America? Latin America is a big sort of region, and there's so many countries over there. So let's start with Gary because obviously Gary is aggressively working with the region. So start with yourself, Gary. Over to you.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story, Sonny, and this would help me understand just how big Latin America is. So, I was really busy. I got a call that the Chilean government wanted me to come down and do a speaking engagement, and could I come in the following week? It was on a Friday, and I said, sure, I can come down. And they said, we'll get your tickets for you. So they booked the tickets, I think, on a Wednesday. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Why did they book them on a Wednesday? Well, so I get on the plane, and I'm extremely busy because I was doing my company, Eva, as a CEO. I get on the plane. I fly to Dallas, Texas. I find out that I've got like a 9-hour more plane ride. I thought it was like, I thought it was close. I thought it was like 2 hours from Dallas. Here, I'm on the other side of the equator. And it was summer, right? So it was exact opposite season. The point is, we don't have the understanding. I didn't understand the geography in terms of how big the countries large they are. So part of that. But then I was astounded to find out that the artificial intelligence in Chile is really focused on. And I understood then how big the opportunities were. And consequently, we have a company in Argentina today. So Xcoop. So we're really bullish on it. But again, this is, the world, because of the digital transformation, world changing, there are these diamonds in the rough all over the planet. And the companies that go out and I don't want a Bitcoin thing, but mine these opportunities. Those are the companies that are going to win because they're there. Remember, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. Our job is to find where those opportunities are and to be able to bring them to the world. And, Latin America is a great place all over, whether in big countries like Brazil or Chile, which, by the way, feels like California. When you're there, it actually looks, if I wouldn't have seen the Andes Mountains, I would have felt like exactly like California. The coast feels the same, etc. It's an amazing place. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to read your lips there for a second. I feel like one of those old Chinese movies there.
All right, so it's my bad. Sorry, I was on mute. I was trying to focus. Thank you, Gary, sharing those insights. I mean, Chile and Mexico, Brazil, the big countries. A lot of.
That's another thing. Mexico too, by the way. We're dealing with. Actually, I met him here in VCTV, Redwood Ventures, right? So there's a lot of activity, especially with some of the high net worth families, to be able to invest in things like AI and quantum all over the world. I mean, they're also want to invest in different places too. So there's a real mix, and it's great having VC. As I said, I met the Mexican investors here in VCTV.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Thank you so much, Gary. Srikant, over to you. So as we were discussing about this offline, a lot of these went into the region. So please share those with us.
So 2020 numbers are out. The 2020 investments in Latin America as a region has doubled its investment in 2019, from 2019 in 2020. And this is primarily led by cheaper workforce and educated workforce, and the gig economy is kind of developing. So, as Gary very rightly said, we do not have access, or we do not have information about what goes on in the southern part of America, and which rarely gets highlighted apart from the Mexican food that we order, which gets delivered. But there's a lot of opportunities out there, especially the traditional mining activities, or the I would say agri activities are a thing of the past. There's a lot of activity happening in other sectors. Just like we discussed in the developing economy show, Latin America is turning out to be another economy where you have a potential to sell a lot of digital products, and to upsell, or it's still the cost per data of the cost per GB of data is quite high in the Latin American markets. There is potential to actually lower it, just like we did it in India and in Asia.
Right. So, in terms of convenience of doing business with the Latin America market, for instance, if you are in India, or if you are in Southeast Asia or in Asia, how convenient it is to do business with entrepreneurs and founders in the region. Gary, I'd like to ask this question. I mean, it's for me. I don't have any sort of information, so I'd like to know from you how easy it is to do business with the region.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you got to get in. They have startup associations like Startup Chile. You got to get into those startup associations. So, I mean, literally, VCTV, and I'm not being, I don't want to keep mentioning it, or Startup Network. I mean, they come in and they pitch those kind of shows, and it's just, I follow up with everybody that I talk to in VCTV. I'm just interested in meeting people. And so what happens is you got to get into the system. You got to have a good introduction into the startup network and into the VC community, and then one leads to many, right? So it's part of it is just, people don't realize there's 647 million people in Latin America, right? It's about a little less than half the size of India and almost double the size of the United States. I mean, it's a big region. Then you got diverse cultures. You got Portuguese, you got some of the native languages, then you got Spanish. So you've got a really mixed, and each one of the countries are a lot different in terms of their culture. So what we know, though, is as we democratize these opportunities, which has happened in the last year with things like Zoom and StreamYard, we're now being able to broadcast out, and now we're starting to mine and see those opportunities. I mean, my company Xcoop is a payment system that's a world-class payment system from Argentina. I met them on a show, literally. So, the thing is getting the word out. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't realize there were opportunities in Africa right
Yeah.
before. Now I have 3 companies in Africa. But that's how, that's the difference between success and failure, is who can figure out where those opportunities are and bring them out. So, but now over the last year, I've seen it's a real uptick. From my own perspective, it's probably 10x what it was before in terms of those companies wanting to go global. And at the same time, they're the challenges with COVID and not being able to travel. They can't really come to a place like Silicon Valley or to Singapore or to India. They can't do it. So they got to figure out what's the best medium. And here we are, right? So it's a great time. I tell you, I went to Startup Chile and I was really, really impressed by the quality of the startups there and the individuals. And Chile's only got about 18 million people, but it feels like Israel. I mean, it's a really vibrant culture there. And the same thing with the companies that I met from Argentina, like Xcoop. I mean, it's a vibrant culture, but you got to figure out where they are. And then the other thing, they speak Spanish or Portuguese. So being able to speak Spanish or Portuguese doesn't hurt.
Right, got it. So you got to find out, as Gary said. So Srikant, so how to find these startups to invest in? So how difficult it is to reach out to them or to partner with them, and what best practices can you share with us today?
See, as much as the developing nations like India or even Israel that we encounter with regard to fintech, the startups of Latin America are not really well known. I don't think the connections have kind of beamed out that these kind of startups exist, because they have been largely focusing on their own market, right? Since they focus on their own market, they don't have the appetite slash the capital to actually reach out to other markets. So you don't have American startups which are coming down from California and setting up shop in Peru or Chile or so on and so forth. So you have more of homegrown startups, which is a good thing for the economy. In the ease of doing business, I last checked, the Latin American region is still in the higher digits, which is a bad thing in terms of ease of doing business. But it depends on the country that you choose. For example, Mexico, the ease of doing business is different from a Peru or a Brazil or so on and so forth, right? And it also depends on what kind of business you want to start. In Mexico, it is easier to start a agri business, or it is easier to start a textile business as compared to starting a fintech business, which is an important thing that one needs to remember when one invests slash looks at startups from Latin American region. So you asked me a question in the beginning. I'm just answering that particular question. The ease of doing business is still difficult, and Spanish is spoken by 1/6 of the population of the earth. If I'm not wrong, they understand Spanish, or it's a variant of Spanish. It doesn't hurt to actually know Espanol. So it may make sense to learn Spanish for all those people who are investors who are looking to invest in startups in Latin America, primarily because of the fact that you establish more of a cultural connect with them and so on and so forth. I think
Yeah,
the evaluation of potential doesn't change between evaluating a startup in India or evaluating a startup in Latin America or evaluating a startup in Silicon Valley.
yeah, I think Srikant very rightly said, knowing the language, Portuguese or Spanish is very. I think it helps a lot to connect with the founders, because I have been talking to a few of the founders from Chile and Brazil, So I think their comfort zone lies in the language itself. So yeah, it's very much important, be it an investor or somebody who's like to partner with those companies. There, it's very much essential to know the language. So who are these investors who are investing into these, pouring down into their money into this region? So where is this money coming from, Gary? Mostly, which other?
Sonny, I just want to say something. Since we've been on the show, I had somebody like Carol, right? But actually, who lives in Singapore, who's from Latin America, who deals with Latin America, connect with me right from the show, right just now, right? So that's
what's her name? What's her name?
Maribel.
Oh, she's my friend.
There you go. See?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's how it works, Sonny. And so, what was the question again?
Which other countries are actually investing into LATAM?
Well, I mean, the situation is the investors that I know that are looking for AI and quantum companies, they don't really care about the geography. They care about the quality of the team and the quality of the tools that they have. So the difference between being in a place like Silicon Valley is the amount of the valuations, right? A company that's artificial intelligence in Silicon Valley can get 15 to 20x ARR, even more than that, because it could be forecasted ARR, right?
Yeah.
So there's a great opportunity for them. It's about the valuations and how much money can you raise. The key is how can you get the access to that smart money, that capital that's really going to make a difference. So the progressive VCs that I know in the family offices are really pushing, my venture studio to look in places to mine those opportunities. So, they use a lot of times those VCs will work with companies like ours, or they have companies they've identified and asked us to take some type of role in those companies and bring them over to Silicon Valley and set them up as a U.S. company. And one of the reasons they do that, Sonny, is because they want to make sure that their IP is protected, that they have a Delaware corporation because of the body of law, and that the company has the most chance to succeed. If I want to raise money from Germany, from Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile, I raise it out in Silicon Valley. If I want to raise money from China, which I've done, I raised it there. Russia, there. Israel, there. Europe, because they just happen to be there. It's like a hotbed. I'm not saying it's always going to be that way, but it still is today. And it's just a good, it's easy for me to walk out of my office in Menlo Park, to go literally down to Hobie's restaurant, which is where deals like PayPal are done, right? Literally, we're done there on a napkin, and go down and meet with the VC from Sand Hill Road and work a deal. It's just really easy. But now look at it with the digital transformation. Here we are, right, in India, in Singapore, in the US. I mean, it's changed the world. It's democratized the opportunities. So now we got to figure out how, since it's more of a level playing field, how we can win, how we can tie these decentralized teams together, how we can use, I call it intergenerational leadership and multicultural diversity to create these incredible new companies.
Talking about digital acceleration and transformation, so what happened in LATAM in 2020? So who are the winners that sort of came into the limelight that we can?
Well, I mean, the thing is, the beauty about the tech community is that they understood this digital transformation before it started, right? Because they were already starting to use Zoom. They were using that technologies themselves. So the good news is they came out. The difference is now, before it was just an experiment. Now the opportunities, they've been approached. They're approaching the VCs. It's like it's VCTV. What can I say? I mean, it's exactly what we're doing here. I just get Maribel connecting with me on Facebook, right? That's where here, your friend. So that's how it works. And the key is, the more we do this, the more we go out and get the word out that the opportunity's there, the more that these companies become the unicorns. And it's funny, Sonny, a unicorn is a mythical creature. And it's funny, these companies strive to be mythical creatures. They don't exist. So it's interesting. But now is the time for those companies to come out. Now is the time for them to refine their messaging, refine their strategy to get investment. And now's the time to really do it, because it's never been as level as a playing field and as easy. You don't have to travel. I love it. I spend almost $100,000 a year traveling on planes. And now I can do my work sitting in my place, whether here or California, and get the stuff done. And I never have to travel. And I save so much time and so much wear and tear, right, on myself. It's incredible. The same thing with those companies from LATAM. And it's, so Africa's rising. You can feel India. I got to tell you, Srikant, every single day I get, I don't want to say thousands, but tens of companies from India reaching out, or VCs. And we have an office. We have 2 folks right now that we're partnered up in India as GSD. And what we want to do is let's bring the world together. Let's combine these teams. Indian R&D teams are incredible. Russian R&D teams are incredible. There's R&D teams, there's sales and marketing, there's operations. Let's combine these teams and create incredible companies. Because as you know, multicultural diversity builds a lot different company. You look at it from different angles and you can figure things out a lot better, just like we did with Eva, right, 5 years ago.
Thank you, Gary. I've just got a request from this listener. Hasmik, can you send the link to Ivan? He's asking for the link, the StreamYard. So while Hasmik is sharing the link with the speaker who is just joining us from Mexico, like he was in Mexico just before this call, I guess. So Srikant, what are the challenges faced by the entrepreneurs themselves within the country itself? So raising capital, going global, even before going global, just within the country, within the Latin America region, how easy or difficult? Because I've heard a lot of challenges, because I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and founders, and they struggle to raise funds. So why is that? I'd like to know from you, why is that?
See, traditionally, Latin America has been funded. So I think I need to go from the question that you asked Gary, which is where is the funding coming from? The funding of late is coming from the sectors and the Silicon Valley as such. But it was never the case earlier. It was homegrown startups, and we have a story to tell right now. Right, 3 years back, and I was just reading an article on TechCrunch. 3 years back, the country or the Latin American region did not have any mythical creature that Gary referred to, any unicorn. And we have got 17 unicorns, and it isn't Amazon, or it isn't a Flipkart, or it isn't a Kareem. It is a local homegrown startup with homegrown labor and so on and so forth. So the point I'm trying to make over here is, I think the visibility of the Latin American region is quite poor. We don't view it with the same lens that we will view a Middle East, or especially Israel, or possibly Far East, which is Singapore and Vietnam and so on and so forth. I think it's a long ignored region. I think the region requires the attention that it requires. And so now I answer your question. The challenges that a Mexican entrepreneur or a Brazilian entrepreneur faces is the fact that he or she is not able to reach out to the investors. And typically, these reaching out used to cost a lot, and as Gary very rightly mentioned. And since these are homegrown, self-made startups, they're quite tight on the budget, and they don't go outside the comfort zone. But I think what has happened of late is the industry has kind of opened up, and even now I wouldn't say there is 100% transparency in the business regime as such. As in, if you ask me, can I go and incorporate a company in Latin America? I can't give you a clear answer, right? So I think that the moment we answer that particular question, which the governments are working towards, I think we have got a answer to all the problems that we are talking about in Latin America. Remember, the cost of labor is quite low over there. So there's a lot of movement that can happen in capital from the north to the south.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, in terms of a company who is planning to, again, as you said, for example, a startup or an investor from India planning to collaborate or invest, what are the best ways? I mean, how can they reach out to Latin America without any connections? Is it difficult or is it easy just to reach out on LinkedIn or some other ways and just start talking? But I don't think it's the language barrier as well. Language barrier is there. So how do you do? How do you see those happening in real life, Shrikant?
For an investor to reach out a Latin American startup should not be that difficult, especially when you have Spanish-speaking, limited partners or Spanish-speaking GPs within the network. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, the opaqueness of the venture capital scene is something that is a concern. So you have a Latin American Venture Capital Association, which is the only mechanism by which you can possibly reach out to these associations or these startups. And you have a VCTV, which is the only platform which, in my opinion, kind of streams out over there that we exist. So I think we are treating Latin America as a separate planet on its own, which we should not. So, in my opinion, that should be the approach of startups who are there, and that should be the approach of the investors who are out here.
Yeah, because of this shutdown and no travels. Before, I think there were conferences, roadshows. Even LATOKEN had planned to have a roadshow in Latin America just to connect with the local entrepreneurs and the people over there. I think you rightly said now VCTV is that platform to connect the dots. Thank you so much, Shrikant. I'm going to ask Gary, but I've just joined by Ivan. Hi, Ivan. Welcome to VCTV. Finally, you are here.
Thank you, Sony. It's been a mission to get here the last few sessions. I couldn't make it. I'm very sorry, but I'm finally back in India. In a crazy time in Mexico, so I have some time and happy to join. And hopefully, add value to the people joining today.
You were in Mexico, right? For how many days or how many months?
I was there for 3 weeks right now, but I'm probably going to be going back in a month, in a week. It's amazing. So I really enjoyed there. And maybe again, go back to Latin America. I was right before lockdown. I spent most of my time in Colombia actually talking about blockchain, Peru, going around and giving speeches about blockchain. So I'm looking forward to go to Latin America too in this trip that I go back first week of March.
Oh wow! So you were in 2020. You were in Colombia. You're in Peru now in Mexico. So what's the COVID situation there? I mean, no restrictions, nor quarantine, nothing.
I mean, with Latin America, nobody really follows restrictions too, right? I mean, there are some certain restrictions, but it's a lot like it's very developing society, so the restrictions are not that enforced, right?
Right.
But yes, there are certain restrictions right now in Colombia, as far as I'm aware. With my friends who are there, they keep texting because I was trying to go back for a long time, and my plan to when I was in Mexico right now was to go to Colombia and go to Peru again, but because of restrictions, I didn't go. And Mexico was like no restrictions, like there's not, you can do whatever you want. That's why I didn't go. But I'm looking forward to go back in March. I mean, blockchain is a huge opportunity. Is a huge opportunity in these places right now. People, I mean, especially because the people don't have so much faith in the government, and the governments haven't really made that much progress in those last years. They feel that the cryptocurrency is the way to give power back to the people, and finally they can have a say in how they're governed and how the currencies are under the control of central authorities.
Yeah, I think after Venezuela, all the countries are, Mexico just announced something as well. So let's hear from you because you've just recently arrived from that region. So what's happening in that space in terms of investments and on startups who are there in the region?
I mean, so before I was actually invited by one of the companies that I'm advising. It's called Wings Mobile. They make hardware devices, they make phones, they make laptops, they make a lot of different stuff. And I had no idea, actually. I just showed up there out of nowhere in Colombia to give a speech. And there was like thousands of people who lined up around the block waiting for me hours to come and see me speak. It was amazing. I did not expect that at all. I've given hundreds of speeches. I've spoken for a bunch of organizations, universities, in person, but Colombia was the most energy and the interest I've ever seen. I've not seen that kind of interest in any other country, any other conference that I've spoken at. And it was really amazing that the people really want to get educated. They want to change their lives. You got to remember, $100 in Colombia goes a long way. I think it goes the longest I've seen anywhere else in the world. And I've been to 60 countries. So when I say that, it means something that it's $100 goes a long way there. And people really want to change their lives. And I think they have strong belief in crypto and blockchain, that actually this is the future, and they're adapting it fast. But I think there's a huge lack of right education. There's a lot of misinformation in the market. There's a lot of people getting scammed, because after I left Colombia, I left Peru, a lot of people kept DMing me, hey, I bought this coin and I got scammed. They bought something they didn't know what they were buying into, right? Because to understand cryptocurrencies, it requires a certain level of technical knowledge, which I think a lot of the people lack. And that's how they get scammed. They buy into wallets that they don't hold the private keys, and then suddenly those wallet companies vanish overnight, right? So I think that's a big issue there. But yes, as far as energy and interest goes, I have not seen more interest than anywhere else except Latin America. And I think also it's because there's also the upside is so high. I mean, look at countries like Venezuela, right? I mean, Venezuela, I've not been there, but I would like to go there. But from what I hear, it's extremely dangerous. But countries like Venezuela, where the currency has lost value, and people are actually storing their wealth in bread. Like, people are keeping bread and trading with commodities, right? Because the value of the currency is going down so much, it doesn't make any sense. The bread, in terms of size and storing, is a lot better option than holding Venezuelan currency right now.
Bread.
And I mean,
bread.
Yeah, bread. People are using bread. They're using bread to trade. It's become a store of value because, and that's why. And so I don't know if you know about this guy. I'm forgetting his name. He actually came up with the idea of the petro currency, which was eventually taken over by the Venezuelan president Maduro, and then he basically tried to sell oil with this currency. Turned out this was another scam that he was trying to pull, but they were quite successful to some extent. They did manage to sell some oil using the petro cryptocurrency. I think that's great overall for the crypto economy, because I think the US dollar has its power right now, because most of the oil in the world is bought with the US dollar. That's why the US dollar is a global reserve currency, because the world runs on oil and most of the oil is bought with the US dollar. So there was finally a way, and that's why the Venezuela is going down, because the US is sanctioning them one after another. I mean, US makes money by going to wars. That's how they win. I don't know how much you know about history, but if you go back to World War I, US didn't actually enter World War I until the last 6 months of the war, right? And all these European countries were fighting and they were turning all their industries into war-centric factories to support the war, but the US was making the weapons and they were selling them only in US dollars. So US collected 50% of the world's gold just because of the war, without actually entering the war. So I honestly think that's why the US dollar is still the global reserve currency, is because of how much control they have over the world, and they don't want to lose that. But I think cryptocurrency has already shown such a huge positive impact in this space. I think there's a lot of potential for sure.
Yeah, we have a question from our audience. Let's take that question now. Sorry, yes, Hasmik. So we've got this question. Apart from language, what is the main barrier you have faced when dealing with startups in LATAM? How have you overcome those barriers? Who would like to take this question?
I mean, I can do it. It's no problem.
Go for it, Gary. Yeah, good to see you again, by the way, mate.
Yeah, good to see you too. So, two things I want to say. Evan, I'm dealing with the crypto whales. I'm in that group with the guys like Kerman Solarov from UAE, and he's got like $49 billion in crypto, just in Bitcoin. And I'm dealing with them every day, literally every day. I'm in the crypto whales group. And they're doing $3 billion just in Miami. They're going to make an announcement this week. So it's leveling the playing field for the world. You're absolutely right. And we can talk about it a bit further. There are cultural differences in each one of the countries, right? And you got to make sure that the person that takes you into that country, that you trust them, just like I did in Russia, like I did in Israel, I've done in China. You got to have somebody that's local that can help you navigate to make sure you don't have challenges, because you can have serious challenges, especially if you go to a place like Venezuela. Not good challenges, it can be extremely dangerous. You got to be careful. You got to know what's happening in that country and get somebody that's connected to show you around. So that's really important. And it's just like everywhere. You got to find people that are friendly, that want to help you, understand that you want to help them. You're not just in it for the money. You're trying to make a little dent in the universe. And I've had we've been very successful in Latin America, and the reason is because we just we keep an open mind, and we don't impose our own values. At the same time, we have to make people understand that if you commit to doing something, you need to do it. Sometimes in some cultures are really slow, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And they have to understand that the way the world works today, especially during the digital transformation, it's very, very fast. Things are changing rapidly, right?
Thank you,
And
Gary.
they need to be up to speed with it.
I agree with Gary.
My friend, by the way, Maribel. That's my friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with Gary. My biggest concern, apart from the language, is also safety. I mean, I'm a risk taker. I love to jump from planes. I'm always traveling. I'm a very high risk taker, but I have friends, they keep scaring me about Colombia and all these countries, right? When I went to Colombia, when I landed there, I had 4 policemen that was with me for the 6 days. I had a police escort all the 6 days I was actually there. That was organized by the company, the CEO. He already knew that I would need it. I think he was smart enough to realize that. That's why I think I had such a good experience there, and I love it. I mean, it's in my top 5 countries I've been to ever. But like, I think security is the biggest concern also. And I would like to go to Venezuela. I really want to go there. I just don't have the right connection right now that I can trust will take care of my safety. Because I mean, obviously, if you go there and somebody like me who has like 1 million followers, a glamorous lifestyle, I'm a target. You're gonna kidnap me, right? So that's always a concern.
I wouldn't be mentioning it too much.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I know that I'm already a target, especially when they know you have Bitcoin and stuff. So then you become even a bigger target. But like, I think that's the biggest concern. I would really, because I think there's also the biggest opportunity though. Because in these countries, they have the biggest opportunity to do a little bit and make a huge impact. You can make a little bit of technology that's already there, and you can make a huge impact. But to go there is such a concern for your safety. And all my friends who are actually less risk takers than me, they're too scared to go. They don't want to go. One of my very good friends' birthday is coming first week of March, and I was like, yo, I'm already going to Mexico. Let's fly to Peru or Colombia again. And he's like, or even Venezuela. He's like, oh no, bro, I can't go. I look Chinese. They'll kidnap me. I'm like, yo. So that's the concern. Like, that is the biggest concern.
Wow, so good to know all these challenges to actually. I think this is the online platform is the best way to connect with people in Latin America. Safe, you don't need policeman.
No, I mean,
exactly. And the people really want that.
We got to be careful that we don't generalize, right? Because it's not true. I mean, I've been in Chile, and there's been 0 problems, and people were really nice and kind. And I mean, I was in Russia, and people in 1992, the wall came down. People were telling me you're going to get killed. There's a mafia, all this stuff. Here I am, right? I lived there 14 years. It's a matter of, you got to be careful. You don't break the cultures of that country and create some problems for yourself. Now, how does that work? I know guys, I told them, don't do certain things. Don't go out to a certain bar at nighttime and drink, because they're not good people hanging out, just like I would in New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles or Miami. They didn't listen. What happened? They had a big problem. I told him, he said, I'm a naval submariner. I was in ports all over the world. I was trained in, as like a Navy SEAL and all this. And I said, dude, do whatever you want. He disappeared for 2 days. And I saw him 2 days later, and he bought his plane ticket and went back to the U.S. I said, why did you do that? He said, well, somebody drugged me. I said, I told you don't go to this bar. I told you don't go. Well, I'm leaving. It's all your fault. I said, my fault. I didn't want you to go. So anyhow, that's part of the problem. What happens is you get people that come from different countries that go crazy. They want to go out drinking. They want to go hang out. They want to dance. They want this. And they put themselves in an unsavory situation, and you leave your guard down because you don't.
I have to say that was one of the best things. Sorry to stop you there. I have to say though, like, the nightlife in Colombia was one of the best reasons why I want to go back again. Like, it's an amazing place. It's to have a great time. The entertainment level is off the charts. So I think if there's a way somebody could build a solution that keeps you safe. I mean, yeah, you can hire a private escort. I'm just not used to doing that. So luckily, the company that I went with, they actually did it for me, and that's why such a wonderful experience. Like I said, it's a great place. People are really interested. They're really interested in learning and educating themselves. But the safety, I think, is in Chile. I have great friends. Yes, Chile, I agree, is the whole region doesn't have that problem, but definitely some countries, even Peru, doesn't have that problem. But some countries like Colombia, Venezuela, they do have that. I think the problem actually arises from all the poverty that's around there, right? The problem arises. I mean, look at this, right? I mean, why do you have schools, first of all? Schools are not giving education these days as much as they are keeping kids off the streets who would end up doing bad things otherwise, right? I think that's what 80% of schools do, is they provide actually keep kids off the street who would end up doing wrong things otherwise. So I think those things actually, most people in Colombia and Venezuela don't actually go to schools anymore. So I think that's why the problem is occurring. And I think if there's actually development that happens, if there's progress that is made, these problems can be gone. And you could still have all the beautiful things the countries have to offer.
Evan, they probably thought you were a rock star. You came in with 4 bodyguards. You were saying though, oh, he's some Indian actor coming in doing this thing, and they're probably like, taking your picture and wanting to hang out with you and all that.
Exactly, yeah. It was a great feeling.
You're a rock star.
It was an amazing
So
feeling.
here's the deal, Evan. Next time, get 8 police officers and a Glendon wagon, and you're going to have the best nightlife. And by the way, if you did that in New York City, you would have a really good time too.
That is true, but I have to say, I have gone different places, and it's really at the top of the top. Like the nightlife when it comes to Colombia is really the top of the top. It's an amazing experience, yeah. Actually, I was there same time today. Last year in Medellin. I just posted a throwback on my Insta yesterday. Like I was there same time today. I was at February 18th to February 20th, yeah.
Interesting to know about different countries and regions and continents. Dr. Srikant has something to say about the question from Maribel. So apart from language, what is the main barrier you have faced when dealing with startups in LATAM?
I wouldn't admit that language is a barrier at all. I mean, Spanish is not that hard to learn, or Spanish is not that hard to understand, so to speak. I think the only barrier that one would face while investing in LATAM would be the barrier of ignorance, because the nightlife, the safety, all these things are inherent and coexist with any developing economy. I mean, you come to Delhi, you will have a different experience. You go to Hong Kong. The first time I was in Hong Kong, I had a very different experience. I would say, so turning to more serious matters, I would say for an investor, I think the third degree connections won't work, like even very rightly pointed out. The second degree connections is what you need. So you need that local partner to actually guide you and tell you what is where. And I think this is a fantastic platform to establish that first degree connection, right? So as to enable the second degree. I think the perception as well as the opaqueness is what is concerning. I think we need to do more shows about LATAM and pick up each individual country and talk about them in detail so that they get an opportunity to explore each country as such, because Mexico is so good at textiles, right?
Absolutely. Today I came to know that Colombia and Venezuela, you have to have escorts with you when you're there.
Venezuela used to export beauty queens, right? Every year in the 90s, I remember when I was a young child, the Miss World or the Miss Universe used to be Venezuelan all the way.
Right, I remember. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Even now, a lot of the beautiful girls come from Venezuela. Even now, Venezuela is the hot center. Brennan is Brazil, and then they go all over Americas, and then even North America, Miami is a lot of Venezuelans, Colombians. They're all known for that. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're talking about beauty pageant. Okay.
let's go back to the topic. Yeah.
Let's go back to the topic.
Now okay. I know why you want to go back, Evan.
Okay. Good. Maribel is thanking for her answering her question. So talking about, like Dr. Srikant mentioned, let's just touch upon different countries. There's a big region. So which country is more developed and why, in Latin America in terms of connectivity, in terms of fintech technology adoption, investments, which is more advanced?
So generally speaking, the country which has got the most access to the Panama Canal is the one which is perceived to be more active, so to speak. So you see Mexican and in that particular belt, a lot of countries are I would say on an index of developing a little higher. But you'll feel that the primary economy is not driven by the startups or it is not driven by small entrepreneurs, so to speak. It's driven by something else, which I'm not going to discuss over here. But a lot of startups down south, which is Brazil. Brazil has been a good story. Brazil, as investment story, has been a very very great and a fantastic investment story for us because we exited a particular health startup which was there. We made a 3x return in Brazil way back in 2015. And production, manufacturing is something which still happens in Mexico. You go to a Walmart and you buy. I mean, you go to Sydney, you buy a T-shirt. It is produced at in Mexico. So tax regimes, all these things actually matter when it comes to evaluating a particular country. So I haven't seen Colombia actually having favorable tax regimes. So that is one of our concerns. I would say one of the barriers that we have when we invest in Latin America because we don't know when the tax regime will change.
Right. So in terms of progressiveness, I think Mexico are quite progressive than other countries. What about Argentina, Peru, Ecuador, all those other?
I mean, Sonny, the first one is Chile, right? So if
Chile.
you look at the rankings, 2 is Mexico, 3 is Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Puerto Rico, considered because of the Caribbean, Uruguay, and then Ecuador. And Dominican Republic is 10. So that's the ranking.
Right.
And so I said Chile because they were extremely progressive, but it's only a country of about 18 million people. But it's up and coming. I mean, the thing is, this digital transformation, this is, it's changed over the last year. And those countries are becoming more equalized. And the more they get integrated in the international system and they can go global, the more it's going to change. It's going to be faster and faster and faster. And, I'm seeing it myself. I'm seeing it in Africa too. I told you we have 3 African startups. A year ago, I didn't even think about it. But there's over 1 billion people in the African continent. There's 647 million people in Latin America. I mean, there's a lot of people down there. And think about it, with the rainforest, et cetera, we talk about, sustainability. I mean, you got the trees, you got, oxygen's being created at this place. So we got to focus on it. We also need to be, it's just like we say, and I say this on time and time again after hundreds of VCTV shows, taking the message down to these countries to let them know that you're listening and letting them know that their voice can be heard is really, really important because it changes everything. And it's just like, your friend Maribel just today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it operates. And the more we just, my company in Argentina was because they listened to me on VCTV. And so it's getting the word out. And it's not easy. Believe me, I was in Russia back in 92. You remember 91, the wall went down. It was mafia, dangerous, and a lot of stuff going on. But listen, I'm here. I had no problems. People were very kind and nice. And, understanding what you should. One time I went out, the guy said, I was in a city in the southern part of Russia, and it was one of the not safe cities. And the guy said, don't go out at night. Well, I was so bored of being sit in a room for 5 days that I went out. And it was one of the worst things I probably could have done because it was, I came into this situation that was, I didn't go into the right club. I was the same as Evan. I was single at the time and it wasn't safe, right? And I didn't have a problem, but I could have had. So you got to know, don't let your, don't get distracted too much. Understand that safety's first, and you got to stay aware. You got to make sure you're aware of your surroundings, just like I would do in San Francisco. I don't walk at the Tenderloin at nighttime. It just you don't do stupid things,
I think I totally agree, Gary. I was in Moscow in 2000, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's 2017 before joining LATOKEN. I was there, and it didn't feel any different from any other European country. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean the thing is, and it's not. I feel very safe walking down the center of Moscow at 3 o'clock in the morning in the summertime. Very safe. But
yeah.
there's just things you don't do. You don't go out and drink too much, and then try walking around and doing you just things you wouldn't do in the U.S. or anywhere.
I mean, I have to disagree here a little bit, Gary, because I mean, I've been to Moscow dozens of times, and I actually lived in St. Petersburg. Actually, lived very close to Tenderloin. When I was very young at that time, I didn't know I was ever as a tourist, and I ended up spending 6 months. But like, it's a little bit more dangerous, guys. It's not the same. I mean, you can still feel safe in Russia and in the U.S. And it's a little bit more dangerous. And
Where,
it's a point that you cross.
where's more dangerous?
Colombia and Venezuela, like
I understand, but there's also places in if you go to Chechnya,
I agree. But
it
the whole
depends on
region
where you are, right?
Yeah, it depends where you are exactly. But I mean, like generally, I mean, Dominican Republic, I go there all the time, and I think it's one of the safest countries actually I've been. I love that place. Chile again, it's actually so progressive. I remember I was 19, I was applying for Startup Chile, right, for one of my companies, and they've been, and I'm 26 now. You can remember how long they've been doing it for now. So I mean, they have been very progressive. But yeah, Colombia and Venezuela, there are definitely.
Well, I mean, Venezuela, 100%. I just watched this show recently on Venezuela. I mean, it's like that. I mean, it's really, there's all kinds of challenges. So, but it also shifts too, Sonny. The challenges shift, and you got to be aware of where those challenges are at the particular time. I mean, Russia. I've been to Vladivostok. I've been up north, all the way down through Central Asia to the border of Iran, all the way across Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. I've been Armenia, all over the place. Irkutsk, Lake Baikal, Siberia, and I used to go to Siberia for fun in the winter and summer. I would just fly at the middle of Russia. So, but it depends on. You gotta that's why it's good to have a local, because we have perceptions of what the bad stuff is. But I mean, if you got 4 police officers taking you in, there's a reason.
Yeah, makes sense. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that. Usually, I don't plan. I travel so much. I didn't plan to have these police officers. I thought it's gonna be a chill place. I could just show up and be all good. But I realized that after I went there that, oh no, this is not safe. You need that. You need this here. But yeah, I mean, I go to Dominican Republic. There's no police officers. I just show up out of any time, and I have friends there. It's everybody. I know a lot of people there too, so it feels a lot more safer. Definitely. I mean, Mexico. Just came back. Feels very safe. It's close to the U.S. I mean, there are risks in Mexico too, no doubt. I think it's a lot of it's cartel. I mean, Mexico right now. I can tell you my own experience. I was in Cancun and Tulum, and actually it's in orange zone right now. So legally, the government has said that all the bars and restaurants have to close at 12 o'clock midnight. And my friend actually owns 3 restaurants there. He has to close the restaurants at 12, but there's this whole street that's open to 6 a.m. and it's packed with people. No restriction. He tells me that it's cartel owned and the police are scared to walk in there because they'll be shot dead. So, like, it's basically all the official legit people can't do stuff. They can't run after 12, but these cartel owned streets are legally running while there's a restriction for everybody else. And nobody can touch it. I mean,
a lot of times in those streets like that, and I've been in those kind of countries, they're the safest ones, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Full with people in there,
I mean, I didn't feel unsafe at all in them. I had a great time. I had a wonderful time there with my friends. And my friend who owns these, he took me there. He owns his own club. He said, mine closes at 12. You got to go there now, and it's going to be a great time. But yes, you can't do stupid stuff. You can't walk in wearing a Richard Mille and then having diamonds around your neck. Then obviously, that you can't do that. But if you just go in as a normal person, have a great time, then it should work out well. But yeah, I think there's also the upside to all of this. There's so much opportunity, right? There's so much opportunity.
Well, that's it. It's opportunity. We're high risk, high reward, right? And
exactly.
You don't have a lot of competition going in, just like you said, Evan. Your friends are too afraid. And when you tell a story about 4 police officers, they're never going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because it's 4 police officers. You know the right 4 police officers, but guess what? They could be the 4 wrong ones, if you know what I mean.
I get it. Yeah.
Scary. Anyway, that was a very good discussion talking about Latin America, not only just technology, startups, but everything else, beauty, payments, cartels, and everything else. That's what Latin South America is known for, right? Thank you so much. Let's take some closing remarks. And as per request by Dr. Srikant, we're going to drill down into country-wise in Latin America. There's huge opportunities, as Gary and Ivan said. Closing remarks from you, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great time. The digital transformation has given opportunities for each and every one of us to be able to do things differently. And it's always, Scott McNeely was a founder of a company called Sun Microsystems. I had lunch with him about 2 years ago. And I remember him telling me that the places that you learn the most are the places that you fear, and you've got to confront your fear. And, Evan's right. There aren't a lot of competitors out there. I know when I first went to Russia, there weren't many Americans, and so you go to the top, and you meet people at the top where decisions are done, and it's really important. So the top-down approach is right. Having those connections is right. This digital transformation has really given us a lot of opportunities. I'm particularly interested in AI and quantum companies. So people can reach me, by the way, on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler. They can reach me on Twitter, Gary Fowler. I have my show today, by the way, investing in Indonesia. I have Samsung, one of the top people from Samsung in Indonesia, and also one of the top family offices today. So get a chance to tune in. It'll be at 12 Eastern time today.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. Dr. Srikant, over to you for the closing remarks.
So my remark would be, don't open your mind before investing in Latin America. And Latin American startups have to kind of look beyond the borders that they have, beyond the Pacific, and they have had instances of funding from Europe, but I think the East has never met the Latin. Is something that one must realize, right? I mean, Southeast Asia hasn't met Latin America yet, though we have the same tonality of skin. We haven't really been great in investments. So I would urge family offices to explore Latin America. There's a huge potential out there, and if they need exploring, of course, VCTV could help them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. Ivan, over to you now.
Sorry, I joined late, guys, but I mean, all I can say is I've had amazing times in all of these Latin American countries that I've been to: Colombia, Peru, Dominican Republic, Mexico, a few more. I've made investments. I've had tremendous returns. One of my apps was #1 in the Dominican Republic App Store for a while, and I've made some great friends. The best thing I can say is I've made some amazing friends in these countries, and they're good people, great people, and I think there's a huge demand right now for the right information. And there's a lack of right information, tools that can give people the right information. I think there's a huge opportunity in providing and educating people there and how they can access all these digital opportunities. And there's a huge opportunity for digital transformation in these countries. If anybody watching is interested, I'm always available on Instagram, or you can reach out to me on evan@evanluther.com. Always looking for companies and ideas to invest in and build business with interesting people. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure to join you for a little bit.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Dr. Srikant. That was an amazing session. Too much information about doing business in Latin America. And it was a great session. I hope all the audience enjoyed our session. We got lots of questions coming out from the audience as well. Again, founders and entrepreneurs, if you like to connect with the Latin American market, please feel free to do so by connecting with us, VCTV. There you go. All these people are connected to Latin America already. And again, investors, if you like to share the space and talk about Latin America, you can always do so by coming on VCTV. So thank you so much again. End of the show. And I'm going to be back tomorrow on another topic with another set of new speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of your health. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.